I'm your host, Loren Meadows of GatorBaitMedia.com with the best shoe game in the Gator media. We are back again with a great show for you. It's moving day, as in the Gators moving into the dorms to prepare for this season's fall camp. We will talk about what we heard from the likes of offensive coordinator Russ Callaway, defensive coordinator Ron Roberts, and of course, Coach Billy Napier at today's press conference. Like we always do about this time, Rob Brown of SEC Sidelines joins the show, as well as Ohio coaching legend and one of the fathers of the Ohio high school spread offense, Lance Schneider, who will break down just what DJ Lagway's potential injury means as the Gators prepare for the nation's most challenging schedule. And with so much depth at the skill positions, why the Gators would and should be wise to play with 4 receivers on the field this season. Noah Ram of the Gainesville Sun rounds out the panel tonight with his thoughts on where the Gators will end up this season. Kicks of the Week is in the building, of course, and we play Hyper Have At It as we talk the Gators and more. Sidelines Live team would like to thank our sponsors, Meldon Law and Titan MRI Imaging. Please like and subscribe to The Lowdown with Loren Meadows on YouTube and Facebook, and follow yours truly on Instagram at Ohio Gator for Life and X at Real Ohio Gator. Let's get to it. All right, big day today. Moving day. We'll be joined shortly by Rob Brown, but the Gators moving into the dorms this week, getting ready to go, getting ready to get after it. And, just a real good day today with press conference. Got to talk to everybody from Austin Barber, fan favorite Tyreek Sapp, always a good interview. And then obviously we talked to Russ Callaway, defensive coordinator Ron Roberts, and Billy Napier, who had a little different take on his team this year. Most of the time, Billy Napier is a little bit more reserved and, doesn't want to give you much. But, this year he's a little bit more confident, I think. I think he's got what could be a generational talent at quarterback if the health is there. And someone asked him, they said, is this a team that is looking at, are you talking about going to the college football playoff? Is that something that's talked about in the locker room? And to what it maybe has been unlike Billy is he said, yeah, this is a team that we plan to be in the college football playoff. Obviously, we got some work to do, but, this is a team that definitely is looking to obviously be playing into December. So, definitely a lot of confidence from Billy Napier. He did mention some injuries, not just to DJ Lagway, who's dealing with a lower leg injury, but also missing guys like Pup Howard to start camp, Trayon Webb, who will factor into the running back rotation, and Khalil Jackson, who suffered an ACL injury and will probably work his way back sometime throughout the season. But with that, we bring in Rob Brown of SEC Sidelines joining the show. How you doing, Rob? Come off mute for me, Rob.
Whoops. Yeah. Hey, doing great, man.
Still on mute. There you go. Hey.
Yeah, got a chance to listen to Billy Napier's press conference tonight. Thanks for that heads up. I knew he was doing it today, but it was about 32 minutes. It was I think you said some things that you can take away as tangibles you can hold on throughout the season. I mean, and I know we're going to talk about it tonight, but it was good stuff.
Now let's get to the news of the day, and we'll talk about it a little bit throughout the show. We got some other esteemed guests coming on, but the big news: DJ Lagway, another injury. Now I'm one of those people that me when it comes to football, I like to really keep it real and not get into the of everything. Injuries happen. These guys are lifting weights. You're talking about a 6'3", 245-pound young man. He's probably throwing a lot of iron. We don't know when the injury occurred, but it seems to be, what I'll call a lower leg, an ankle, a calf, and he is in a walking boot. Now, for those that think about these boots, a lot of time, I've coached kids that were in a boot all week during school. And then in practice, they were, it just allows the leg to rest and things like that to just, increase healing. And just so you're not on it, a lot of guys don't wear great tennis shoes, or they're wearing Jordans, which aren't great. And they're going to put on a pair of Hokas or anything like that. So that boot allows them to rest. But what somebody may say is this is just more time for Lagway to miss when you're talking about really good getting time with the receivers and different things like that. They do have a new group of receivers, some young guys. But Rob, is this concern right now, or is it just kind of just let it play out? We still got a month before we lock it up for real.
Well, I mean, ideally, no, but it's just part of life, like you say. These kids, they don't just sit around all summer. They get a couple of weeks off, then they do 2 5-week sessions. So there's probably not a player on the team that's not dealing with some kind of injury, nagging, stress, anything, muscles, ligaments. That's just part of it, and coaches play through it. But it's also why you do want to have an adequate backup for in case QB1 goes down. And because guys are coming and going so frequently now, and I tell you what, I wish for whatever reason, more of these kids would stick around. But you know what? Billy Napier is a planner. And I heard that press conference today. He's like, it's not ideal, but he didn't sound like he was in a panic mode. And I like what you said. Use just judicious restraint in reporting.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback job is settled, and what I like about the Gators, which we kind of saw last year, we saw it late in the Georgia game, and then heading into the Texas game, where you just didn't have anybody that had played some big boy football to come in there and really steady this team. What you have now is Harrison Bailey, a fifth-year senior, a guy who has over, had I think 10 touchdowns versus 3 interceptions, over 60% completion percentage. If he would have to maybe start against a Long Island or South Florida with what the Gators have around him, I think they'd be in good shape there too. I mean, you really think about it, the season starts at that night game in Baton Rouge. As long as Lagway is ready to roll, and you and I both know they've been working in the facility, throwing the ball around, get things together. Lagway talked about it at SEC Media Days, just getting everybody's releases down and that's where you make your bones. And we'll talk to Coach Schneider about that. He knows a lot about throwing the football and getting it around. And I think it's one of those things where, Rob, it's going to be news for a while because, a lot of times we don't get a lot. But out of respect to DJ Lagway, and like you said, Billy Napier, I did see a guy that was a lot more confident. I saw it at SEC Media Days. You were there. Mm-hmm. This is a guy that I think he really believes that he has the roster on both sides of the ball to get it done.
Well, what Billy Napier said today, and I can't talk as slow as he can, but he's very methodical and he's very deliberate when he uses words. He said, look, we got a lot of guys in this building that have been here for 2, 3, and 4 years. And that's not a, thing that, goes unnoticed. He said it's relationships and trust. Right. And I've been in these kids' homes. I know their parents. I know their stories. I know their families. And then he mentioned a couple of guys on the Florida roster. He said they weren't 5, 4, 3, 2. Hell, I don't think they even had a profile, but they're 2 of our best players. So he just seems like the first 3 years, that's part of being the coach at Florida. He just seems like a guy who's very driven. And now that roster, Florida's got a number 8 or number 9 roster talent-wise in the country. In the 4th year with a bunch of guys that I believe trust one another. I mean, that is a big-ass deal. And if you don't think it is, you haven't ever played sports or worked in business, and and I know in the corporate world, trust is hard to get. It's even harder to regain.
Right.
I just think he's got a trusted locker room.
And to speak to that, you talk about trust. I think he's starting to even manage his manage just his relationship with the media. And we're going to go to a clip where I think he was really good about being forthcoming with the injuries. He kind of started the press conference with it. And I think that speaks to, like you said, somebody who understands how this thing works. And we're going to go to that clip right now, and then we'll come back.
A bit of a summary here, and then we'll try to keep it status quo from that point forward. But We have a handful of players that are going to be modified that'll be limited early in camp. DJ Lagway, Tavares Dice, Pup Howard, Khalil Jackson, and Trayon Webb. All those players are a little bit modified here in our day-to-day as they're in return to play. So we are positive. We have positive attitude towards where they're headed and their opportunity to get back here shortly.
Yeah, so you see there, Rob. I mean, you talk about a guy in the change of things, somebody that, a while ago may not have been as forthcoming with the injuries and things like that, kind of kept things under wraps. Now you see a Billy Napier who walks there, steps right in front of it, talks about the generational star quarterback that everybody wants to talk to, and puts it out there that, yeah, these guys are injured. We're going to manage it, but we got grass to mow. I like that quote when he says that, and we got things to take care of, Rob.
Yeah, Billy Napier, I mean, coaching's in his blood. He's got two brothers that are coaching in Georgia now. I just think that when you look around at the SEC last year, no coaches were fired. And you're not going to see coaches get fired very often with the $21.7 million house settlement. I think you're going to start seeing coaches being told, we're going to keep you. We can't afford to get rid of you. But we're going to bring in this defensive coordinator, this offensive coordinator, pay them $2.5 to $3 million because it's a lot cheaper than doing it the other way. And it also gives continuity to the program. And I just think that if you look at the guys Billy's been mentored by, Dabo Swinney, Nick Saban, that's pretty damn good. And remember, if you haven't been to Lafayette, Louisiana, it's a great town, great food. But he won 41 games in 4 years there. I don't care what conference he's playing in. Winning on any level is indicative of you and the culture that you build.
No doubt. And before we talk about, we're talking about culture, let's talk about the culture with the great folks at Meldon Law, the only official law firm of the Florida Gators, proven and skilled lawyers since 1971. Their motto is "We won't back down." And obviously they do a great job of providing a lot of opportunities for people in the Gainesville community. They'll give away tickets, they give away shows, do a lot for those in the Gainesville community, but also they're just there for their Florida family. I think the Meldons have returned from their whirlwind tour around the world, but when they get back, they will be there to provide great law service to the Gainesville community and surrounding areas. If you have a law need that Meldon Law cannot help you with, they will be able to point you in the right direction to somebody who can help you with that. So, count on Meldon Law for all your law firm needs. Meldon Law, proven and skilled lawyers since 1971. We won't back down. And with that, we bring in a very special guest, somebody that I'm happy to call a friend, best boss ever. One of, I think, maybe 2 or 3 coaches in the Greater Western Ohio Conference to win that conference 7 years. One of the fathers of the spread in Ohio high school football, along with his Hall of Fame father, 3rd generation Hall of Fame coach, just a great all-around guy, countless high school All-Americans, Division I players, NFL players, my guy, Lance Schneider. What's up, Coach?
What's up, Loren? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, man, great to have you. When I started this, I was like, I was running down the list of guys, and, it was happening during the school year, and you go to bed like an old woman about 5 in the afternoon, but you said, get me in the summer. So definitely glad to have you on, man. And, definitely, the game of football inside and out. And, one of the things that, a lot of people, I guess, have been frustrated about the Florida Gators is a couple things. I want you to speak on, a couple of them and maybe how this works. But one is running, what we would call 10 personnel, got a great group of receivers. The Gators have been more of a 12 personnel type team. And, but with great talent at the wide receiver position, they got J. Michael Sturdivant coming over from UCLA, Dallas Wilson, who's a freshman phenom, Trey Wilson, big time player out of Jacksonville, coming back for his, 3rd year in the system. Just a nice group of receivers, about 6-7 deep. and then maybe where the use of 12 personnel to let everybody understand where that can be effective as well. But just, where you came to that, you were one of the first guys to throw 4-5 guys out there, just what that can do for an offense at this level and what that provides for, when you got a killer at quarterback as well.
Well, you definitely got to have a trigger that can throw it if you want to do those type of things. But at the college level, you're going to be able to get 4 good receivers, and like you said, maybe in their case 6 or 7. And the thing in your league in the SEC is the defense is going to have guys that can cover them too. So you got to kind of go by whatever it is that you think is going to work that week. But, you got to stick to your guns and do the things that you think you do best as well. Actually, I've morphed more into a 12 personnel guy now, just in the fact that, there was a time there where we were seeing a lot of odd front defenses. And, the problem with that is you get these teams that play overhangs to the nub sides, and when you're in the spread and 10 personnel, a lot of times the defense is dictating to you, what your protections are going to be and things of that nature. And, at the high school level, you're not sure which overhang's coming to the field or to the boundary. And when you get into 12 personnel with an H-back and a tight end in the game, now you're kind of dictating to them what they need to do to try to cover that. So I think I've become more of a multi-personnel guy in that make the defense try to work on many different things that week instead of just trying to stop one thing with your 10 personnel grouping. So that's kind of where I've gotten to now. And I think a lot of colleges are doing the same type of thing because they see it in the NFL.
Yeah, Rob, I mean, when people clamor for those personnel groups, I think they envision the old school, spur your fun and gun, everybody running by everybody, but defenses have adjusted. And, I think there's a place for the Gators to get out and outflank some people with their speed personnel. I mean, you just go down the list of it's a 4x1. I mean, you got Aiden Mizell, Tank Hawkins, Abrams. I mean, those guys could show up for Mouse Holloway and be on the track team. But is it maybe, stopping and looking at the landscape of the SEC and, like Coach mentioned, these defenses where you got to be diverse, you got to be multiple.
Well, I mean, Coach has forgotten way more than I know, and just listening to his list of accomplishments, I'm going to throw this at him. Back 20 and 25 years ago, we started seeing some empty set backfields in the SEC. That was basically like signing your own death warrant because the guys, and Ohio State, I've always said they've always been like an SEC team. Southern Cal, same thing. You can say, oh, the SEC, and I cover all 16 teams, is so great. Well, you play Ohio State, you play Southern Cal. They are built like SEC teams. Ohio is just Alabama north of the Mason-Dixon line. The high school football up there, I think it's the 5th most productive state. Again, way more than me. I think it's number 5 in the country for producing D1 players, and you got a lot of colleges up there. But I think, Coach, I'm asking you this. Shelf life of an offense or of a defense that comes along like Joe Lee Dunn when he was doing all that, coaching with no socks on and having a ball, and it was great. It's got a shelf life of about 3 years. Would you say that's accurate to say? And if you're not adapting and changing and evolving, you're going to be out of coaching if you're not careful.
Yeah, I think you're right. When something comes onto the scene, it takes them a year or two to try to figure out what you're doing.
Yeah.
And then usually the third year, your teams have kind of, okay, this is how we're going to deal with that. And then now it's back on the offenses. And, you just look at the fact of the RPO game coming around in the last 10 to 12 years, that came from the offense trying to figure out, okay, how can we make the defenses wrong? Because many times, the spread was kind of based on matchups and all those type of things. Well, now everybody's matched up. So now what can we do differently to make it tough on them? And, a lot of it starts at the high school level and goes up. And if you look now, the NFL has now become almost like a college offensive-minded game. Jalen Hurts is doing a great job quarterback because he understands how to do the RPO stuff and all that because he's probably been doing it for the last 10 or 12 years now, starting in high school. So, it's just a matter of you got to stay one step ahead of the curve. You got to make sure that you're studying and trying to figure out, okay, this is what we're doing well. This is how they're going to try to stop it. And, what's going to be next to try to be one up on those defensive coordinators.
Yeah, and the other thing, Coach, and that's great. I mean, it speaks to where we're going in this game as the game continues to evolve, both on the field and off the field. But the other thing is, and I want you to speak to it because you were somebody who was the head coach of one of the top programs in the state of Ohio, but you continue to be the primary play caller. And Florida had kind of upgraded and hired Russ Callaway as the offensive coordinator, but yet Napier will remain the primary play caller. Now, not to say that that's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm not necessarily asking that. But as a head coach and the primary play caller, I think a lot of people miss the boat on how game planning, the communication between assistants and everything and we were a very cohesive group, myself, your dad, Coach King, the offensive line coach, and yourself, the running back coaches that we had, the different ones as a collective. And even though, the call was yours, how we developed that cohesiveness to where everybody was on the same page and it was the best thing for the program.
Yeah, you meet on the weekends and hopefully get everybody in tune to, okay, this is how we got to attack them. This is what we need to do. And then, you throw things against the wall during the week. Hey, this worked. We didn't like this. And, you hope that by Friday, everybody's ready to go and understands exactly what we're going to try to do to attack the defense. And then, you get into a game and you start seeing things that, hey, they haven't done this before. And this is the answers that we can have for that. And, you hope your staff is good at giving you input so that you can kind of take things and go, okay, let's try this time and let's make this adjustment and those things so that, you can have as much success as possible against what a team's trying to do against you.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's kind of an indictment on the other assistants that are working pretty hard to assume that the head coach is the all-being oracle and not listening to these guys that have been in the game for quite some time and can contribute in a mighty. I mean, you got a guy like Jabbar Jalouk, who's one of the top running back coaches in the country, but also been a head coach at the high school level and been with Napier for so long. There's no doubt he's in his ear and listening to him and taking his input.
Yeah, you definitely got to have the guys like that, kind of think like you do. Like Doug Berry was that way with me here the past few years at Miamisburg. I know Doug from Ohio Northern, but, just guys that you can bounce ideas off of and say, hey, this isn't working. What do you think? And they can give you the input and, hopefully you're pushing the right buttons to get things done right. And, it takes a whole staff to do it. One guy can't do it by himself.
Yeah. And Rob, I think it's time to, I think that's going to be something, and having a guy like Lagway and having the versatility, that it's going to be all hands on deck to make sure that the Gators are getting what they need, on offense with so many pieces to move. I mean, there's no way, you got to have people involved that can get you to the right scheme and get you to the right plays throughout a 60-minute game.
Well, I mean, it's like Billy Napier said today. He goes, guys have talent, and coach, this. He goes, but what about the things that require no talent, like being early for practice, showing up when they don't really have to be there, but we know that they're there, stuff like that. And that's the culture. And I want to ask Coach another question. Cole Kubelik was speaking at the Touchdown Club here in Memphis about 6 weeks ago, and he said, as an offensive lineman, he said, I grinded it out 5 years with Rick Trickett at Auburn for 3 years.
Rick.
And he goes, that was so much fun. He goes, it's always careful if I introduce him to my kids. It's like, Coach, they're under 7.
Yeah. But I think he was digging in his nose when he came to talk to us.
but it was funny, as Cole said, but you love him because of what he did. And I've never respected anybody unless they really pushed me. That's what you love about coaches and teachers. So he said one of the problems we got today, because I asked him about offensive linemen, and you being a high school coach in Ohio, you get a lot of those tough, hard-ass guys from the Midwest that we always say in the South, I wish we had linemen like that with names like Damkrogger and Schultz and Brockenhauer. That's just what you get in the Midwest. Well, he said, you got guys now with the portal coming in for a cup of coffee in January and a bag of money or whatever, the portal, NIL. They get all the reps with the ones. And then here comes May, and they're gone, or April, the portal, they're gone again. He calls them stolen reps. Would you talk about how big a deal that is, how detrimental, in my opinion, it is?
Yeah, especially on the offensive line, man, because you want to have – your best offensive lines over the years have been guys that have played together for 2, 3, 4 years. And, now I don't know how guys can do it at the college level, man, with NIL and all that stuff. And like you said, it can change by week anymore as to who you got in your room with you, man. And I don't – that's the part of college football I really am not liking at all right now. And I think I think Saban got out because he saw what was coming. And, it was just like, I've done this long enough. I don't want to deal with this. And, I think the college game, man, they need to kind of look at, they've always had the rule where it's 3 years before you go to the NFL. Why don't they make that 3-year rule the same thing with, if you sign a letter of intent, you're bound to that college for 3 years. At the end of those 3 years, you can stay there and graduate.
Yeah.
Or if you got a better NIL thing, go somewhere else, and you can go for your last year there, or you can leave and go to the NFL. And I think they need to get back to that just to give some continuity to the game again. It's so hard to keep track of who's playing for who anymore. I was watching College Football Live last week, and they were talking about a quarterback, and I don't even remember what school he was at. This is going to be his 4th school in 4 years. That's absurd, man. It's hard on the coaches. It's hard on the kids because you can't really build any cohesive units and have chemistry on your team because of all the stuff that has to go on with the NIL and guys jumping ship and getting in the portal and all that stuff, man. I just don't know how they do it. I did see a thing when Belichick took the North Carolina job, and he talked about in 1995 when he was head coach for Cleveland Browns, his salary cap in the NFL then was $60 million, and his NIL fund at North Carolina is $60 million. So he's basically going to run it like an NFL franchise. He's got Lombardo there with him as the GM, and I think more colleges are going to have to end up doing that type of thing where you might keep 20 kids maybe 3 or 4 years, and the rest of them are just going to be pieces of the puzzle brought in each year to try to fill holes that you have. And it's kind of like free agency, man. It's a whole different dynamic, and I hope it doesn't ruin the game, but I think they need to sit down and get some things done to where it makes it better for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons maybe people are a little bit higher on the Gators as well, is you bring back over 4,000 snaps within that offensive line, and 95% of them have been played together. So you bring back a group with Austin Barber, Najee Harris, All-American Jake Slaughter, Damian George, and then Bryce Lovett. And then you got the depth also with, guys and like Roderick Kearney and Zamdella who have played at the college level. They got about 4,000 snaps. So I think that's one of the things that another reason why the Gators you put that experience up front with a dynamic playmaker at quarterback, then you're in great shape. So I think that's one of the reasons why Florida is at, that cusp of that list where people think maybe this could be the year. Speaking of dynamic, it's that time, Rob. Kicks of the week. So Lance, I know you know what time it is. I like to look good, but this is you remember these, Lance?
Yeah.
The original. This is in honor of my man, Rob Brown.
I love it.
Auburn's very own Bo Jackson, original Bo Jackson cross trainer, Rob, there for you. So
beautiful.
Give Bo Jackson his shout out. But
awesome.
and we trying to get a little sponsorship, Lance, with StockX or GOAT or Flight Club. So we keep throwing the kicks out there. But 52 weeks, 52 kicks. So we trying to make it happen. But
nice.
And in a minute we're gonna bring in. We should have Noah Ram from the Gainesville Sun in soon. But outside of what we heard from Napier, Rob, this team, is it? I mean, talk about a defense, and Ron Roberts well, and the strides that they were able to make over the last 5 to 6 weeks. And Lance, I think this is something that you mastered early on when we were together. Is I think there's a place for competition in practice, if you know what I mean. And we talked about it, some of the struggles that Florida was having. And we would talk about this when we were together. We don't want to get beat Monday through Thursday. We want to outwork. We want to outplay. We want to outpractice. So we're ready to go Friday, Saturday. And I said, they got a practice problem. They're not practicing hard enough. It shows. And then there was an off week. And Rob, you remember this. They decided, okay, in this off week, we're going to put the ball down and we're going to get after it. And that's something that I think they carried through the season. And I think that's what allowed them to come back. And Lance, you've been through tough losses, but when you got that grit, you can go. And you got a heartbreaking loss to Georgia, and then you lay an egg at Texas, but then you come back and you get 8 sacks against an LSU team that had only given up 6 all season. Speak to what maybe a point where you had to change kind of the way you were going about things with your teams and really decide, okay, we're going to make that next jump. For instance, that 2018 comes to mind where we had to, okay, we're not going to be the footloose and fancy free, but we could still get after people, control the ball. And I think that was one of the better teams we had when we were together.
Yeah, there's been some times in the career, I know when we played Pittsburgh Central Catholic, that was kind of an eye-opening experience for us in the Herb Street thing. The one year we played Ignatius and Elder, and they ended up playing for a state championship, and kind of seeing how they did things personnel group wise and realizing, man, we've got to change to adapt to that if we're ever going to compete with those teams. Football now is so much different than it was even when we coached together, 15, 20 years ago. It's load management and things like that are a real thing. You've got to, as a coach now, you have to understand the science of athletics and practicing and those things where, you can't wear your guys down Monday through Thursday or Friday in college and then think that they're going to be ready to go 100% on game day, man. You want them to be at their peak on game day. So you kind of got to make sure that you're, stressing hydration and sleep and nutrition to your kids and hoping they're doing it, at the high school level. It's, hopefully the families are buying in and doing it. College level, you got more control over that. But, just taking all the steps that you need to take to make sure that your kids are fresh and ready to go when it comes game time and ready to rock and roll, week in and week out in the SEC, then, beating them down during the week to where, we're not 100% on game day, because then that can be a problem. And, as well as I do, man, you can lose games if kids ain't ready to go.
Right. And how do you manage that but keep that edge? And I think that's where Billy Napier, I think he was thinking the same way, but then I think you lose that edge a little bit. And I think that's where they were like you said, let's stay fresh, but let's keep that edge,
I think you got to make things competitive as much as you possibly can. I mean, you can do things in practice that aren't high contact things, but are high intensity and make guys compete. Our cat and mouse drill that you might recall, man, from back in the day. That was 10 great minutes of practice of DBs and wideouts going against each other. That there was no contact involved, but man, we competed and made it a game kind of against each other, and had winners and losers and those type of things. And you can do that and get what you need out of drills and your practice sessions without beating your kids up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and any high school coaches listening, I can see you that cat and mouse drill. You want great route runners, do cat and mouse for sure, Rob. I had to explain it to you one day. When I see you for the Ole Miss game, we'll play cat and mouse there on the Grove, and I'll show you. Yeah. But with that, we're gonna bring in Gainesville Sun. Noah Ram from the Gainesville Sun is in the queue, I think, ready to roll. How you doing, Noah?
What's going on, guys?
Man, look at that backdrop. That's a man that's been places for sure. But yeah, Noah, just been talking about where the Gators are, where they fit into this thing going forward. And I know you and Kevin both have been in tune with a lot of this. A lot of news coming out. Asa Turner was coming back. Then Billy says he's not coming back. And then we're just talking about where this team could be when the dust settles and where, it's going with this program as a whole.
Yeah. I think it's, obviously the news with DJ over the last, 24 or so hours is not any news you want to hear, especially given all the injury concerns that he, had throughout the entire offseason, to now seemingly where it's at least confirmed at the worst place it's been at, this entire offseason, is not ideal, but, I'm a little bit more lukewarm, I guess. And this is even before DJ's, what happened, DJ's injury issues on the team, just because there are still lingering issues that I don't think have been resolved. And I'm not, and a lot of it does stem from Billy, whether it's the play calling, whether it's the still, lack of being able to win on the road. I mean, they won 2 road games last year, and it was Mississippi State and Florida State, not the 2 strongest teams. So, these are concerns that I have. It's an exciting team. It's obviously on paper the best team that Billy's had, but it's, I'm sure you guys have talked, you guys have obviously talked about, there are a lot of concerns with this team this year. And I don't think that they, and I don't think that, maybe they'll spot the ball like Billy said, and they'll all go away, but it's, I don't know. It's hard to have a lot of faith that's going to happen right now.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get Coach back here in a minute, but Rob, you've been high on the Gators, and, is anything that you've seen, even with the Lagway injury, are you still betting the 10?
Well, look, the Lagway injury is huge. I mean, that's kind of like a restaurant. You've got to have food in the kitchen to stay open. He's big. I mean, he's your quarterback. The question is, who's QB2? And Noah, a beat writer, I mean, there's nothing better than the beat writers and local writers, local reporters, TV, newspaper, because you're just pounding the turf. I heard a lot of good questions from that. I was out tonight before the show, and Loren said, "Hey, listen to Billy's press conference," and I heard it. I heard Edgar Thompson. I heard Buddy Martin on there. You were there, weren't you, today, asking some questions? I think more than anything with me, as we cover all 16 teams on our show Sidelines, Noah, he likes the fact he's got a lot of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year guys in the locker room.
Yeah,
that's important right there. So, worst case scenario, DJ's out, misses some games. The team, it's going to hurt. So, but if you've got a good offensive line, the guy that has to come in and back up DJ, if that were the case, has a better chance than, what'd you say, over 4,000 snaps together?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the stat that I have not heard about an offensive line in a long time, Noah. And
yeah, I mean, obviously, when the offensive line helps, and getting Harrison Bailey, in the offseason from the transfer portal helps.
Yeah.
If it was Aiden Warner, again, like last year, you wouldn't, like in that Texas game, you wouldn't have a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
At least Harrison Bailey has gotten minutes in Division I college football. He knows what he's doing. But you said it, Rob. He's the food in the kitchen. I mean, if they don't, if he's not there, maybe it would be okay if this was the SEC East 10 years ago when Jim McElwain in Florida was winning the division, while being the 18th ranked team in the country. But that schedule is brutal. I mean, that, it's hard to think that they are going to have much, that they're going to have much of a shot, in Oxford, in College Station, in Miami, in Baton Rouge, if DJ's not ready to go. So I think, that's the big factor. And they do have enough to get by where they're certainly a better team top to bottom this year than they've been. And the depth is huge. I mean, defense is a little bit more question marks, but offensively, they should be, if DJ's healthy, they should be great. With that line, they have good running backs. Obviously, we know about the receivers, and the speed and the youth they provide. But I mean, again, it's just like, there's obviously always been this vibe with Billy that, you look, there's been the Tennessee game last year, of course, comes to mind, even games before that. And maybe that team will overcome it. It's just, they're an unproven they're an unproven project a little bit. And I don't know if, 4 games at the end of, I hate to be the downer, but I don't know if 4 games at the end of last season necessarily, changes what had been happening for a few years prior.
Coach, you weigh in. You watch. I know you're gonna make sure you get your college football in, and I know you saw the Gators. We were texting back and forth during some of the games during that 4-week run, and where they really made strides. Is this a team that has turned the corner? Watching them, the schedule is daunting. Like my nephew said, y'all play the Avengers. I was taking him through with the likes of Texas and Texas A&M and Miami and LSU and Ole Miss. But is this a team that, in your mind, has come full circle and is ready to take the next step, under Napier?
Well, just you're talking about the offensive line and having 4,000 snaps together, and you got your quarterback back and those things. And I think that when you lose, you got to make sure that you're learning from them. And it sounds like that those guys are doing that, and taking the steps that they need to take to get back to being one of the premier programs, not only in the SEC but in the country. And I think Napier's learning as he goes along, and hopefully you can add some guys that are missing pieces of the puzzle from the year before, with the portal and things like that. And you're saying you're 6 or 7 deep at wideout. That's a pretty good start, man. If you got guys that can go get it and a guy that can throw the ball to them and people that can protect them up front, you're in pretty good shape. Hopefully you got some running backs in the stable will help take some of the heat off of him as well, because as well as I do, you can't just sling it around all the time, man. You got to be able to run it too to keep that defense honest. So, if they're taking all those steps in the right way, and I'm sure they got some dudes on defense, the Gators should definitely be taking a step forward this year.
Yeah, and heading, talking about the defense, and Coach brought up a good point. When you look at this Napier team, what I found is, and Noah, you can back me up, and Rob as well, they're about 6 or 7 stops over the last 2.5 to 3 years from being a 8-9 win ball club that first year, the second year when I didn't think they were very good at all, and then last season as well. You get a stop at Tennessee. Now you're talking about 9 wins. The defense, Tyreek Sapp said today, and I love this because, iron sharpens iron, is we want to make life hard on the offense in practice. You talk about a confident bunch, and you talk about guys like himself, LJ McCray, Cam Banks, who is on the Outland watch list, Jordan Castell, now his 3rd year as a full-time starter. Last year, we saw a disconnected bunch, I think, through the first 4 to 5 weeks. And then it clicked. They kind of honed in on who was running the show, calling the defensive signals, some of that. Do you see, Noah, from what you've heard, is this now a collective that is bona fide and is ready to play big boy football in the SEC.
Oh yeah, I think no doubt. And I think they're also motivated because they lost a lot of guys, and then you have obviously guys who went to the portal as well. And I think they're all the attention's going on the offense this year, and I think they're saying if we don't play the way we did against LSU, against Ole Miss, the Gators don't win those games, and they don't go to a bowl game last season. So besides Loren, you mentioned those first few games, and of course any Gator fan knows, but you got to look at those games as an aberration. I mean, they were not as anomalies. They were, the 2/3 of the season, they were great. I mean, in that last 2/3, the only bad game they had was the Texas game. And I mean, my personal opinion on that game is once DJ wasn't playing, everyone in that locker room knew what was going to happen in Austin.
Yeah.
But I mean, they kept him in that Georgia game once DJ got out. And obviously, again, LSU, Ole Miss, they played really well against Tech. Again, that Tennessee game, did pretty much everything they had to do. I think if we see that defense you saw from the last 2/3 of the season, they can be, and Rob, I'm curious to get your opinion as someone who's maybe is plugged into the rest of the conference. I think they could be one of the better defenses in the SEC this year. And I think that's again with. You have to keep saying now, 20 times a healthy DJ.
Well, Rob, and I'm gonna lead you in, Rob, and to answer Noah's question because you do follow the entire league. But Lance, we play a little thing. It's called Hyper Have At It. So you can give a one-word answer. Is it hype? If it's hype, nah, I'm not messing with it. Or have at it means, yeah, I'm have at it. Go ahead and go with it. And I'm going to pose it to Rob, and he can answer. We got about 10 minutes left. So, Rob, we're talking about the defense. Will the Florida defense be a top 5 defense this season? Hyper have at it.
In the conference or nationally?
I'm going to say let's go conference.
Yeah, in the conference, I think so. Yes.
Okay. Finished 10th in the country in sacks last season. Look to improve on that number. What you think, Lance?
Well, if you're a top 5 defense in the SEC, then you got a pretty good chance of being at least top 10 in the country. Yeah. So I would say have at it, man.
Noah?
I would agree. Top 10. I would say top 20 nationally, top 10 in the conference, I think is very, very realistic.
Okay. So then you say hype for top 5 then. Maybe not top 5, top 10.
Yeah.
I don't think top 10 gets it done, but so they better be better than that.
Yeah.
All right. With over 4,000, Lance, you kind of keep noting on us, so we'll go to Noah. With 4,000 snaps, is the Florida offensive line the best in the SEC? Noah, hyper have at it.
I'm gonna say have at it. I think that they again with that experience, with guys like Jake Slaughter who are who do we know what they can do. I think have at it. I think you can make that claim.
Rob?
4,000 snaps. The guys know each other. They trust each other. And the quarterback of your offensive line, Jake Slaughter, proud native son of Ocala and Marion County. I mean, and talking to him at media days, he sounds like Hulk Hogan. Rest in peace, Hulk. But I mean, that is a mature kid. I mean, he's an alpha male. And I would think if you're not giving 110% in a game, he may put you through a locker or a wall. I mean, but that's the kind of teammate you want.
All right, now I got a shout out from my man Nat Blaylock. We got to, just touch on it real quick. Yeah, the Florida backs are, you talk about Jaden Bod, Jacoby Jackson, Katie Daniels, Trey Webb when he's healthy. I mean, it's a bevy of it's like a law firm, Bod, Jackson, Webb, and Daniels. So yeah, I mean, definitely, and obviously one of the better running back coaches in the country, maybe the best, in Jabbar Jaluk coaching them. So definitely shout out to the backs as well. Good call, Nat. Appreciate you tuning in, homie. FanDuel at plus 2,500 has DJ Lagway odds to win the Heisman. Is a healthy DJ Lagway, and Lance, QBs, you coach some really good ones. Is he a legitimate Heisman candidate? That schedule, and if he balls out, is he a legitimate Heisman candidate? Hyper have at it.
Well, if you ball out in the SEC, and you're returning starter, that is always helps because people know who you are. You're not just going to sneak up on people. I'd say go on with your bad self right there now.
Yeah, Rob?
Hell yeah, I'm with Coach. Anyone from Southern Ohio is a tough guy anyway, but Coach is right. If you ball out with that damn schedule and you don't succumb to logo fever and looking at all those big names on there, you're going to New York and you're going to be sitting right up front. That's just
How many wins the Gators got to get, Rob, to put DJ in the conversation?
Last year I had him at 8. This year I got him at 10.
And you think at 10 he goes to New York?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Noah?
I'm gonna say have at it because why not be a little bit of a gambler? But the only caveat I will give, it comes to Loren, what you had just mentioned with the running backs. I think he's obviously going to have some sort of, even if he's healthy enough to play. Of course, the injuries are always a concern. I think there's a real chance that Billy is going to, especially early in the season, lean heavily on those running backs, which is not necessarily a bad thing because those running backs are pretty dang good. But that's the only caveat I will give, is that, the running backs could take away some of the shine. But if he truly balls out, yeah, he's going to New York. I mean, you get on the cover of NCAA football first. You're a name, and they like to send names to New York. So I think he'll be there.
No doubt. Can the Gators survive that schedule without a healthy Lagway? Is the defense good enough? Are the backs good enough? Is the offensive line good enough? And you take a guy like Harrison Bailey, whose last sample, he balled out against Washington in the bowl game, threw 3 touchdown passes, no interceptions. So capable of getting it done against big boy competition. But Rob, can the Gators survive if Lagway misses, let's say, 3 games?
I don't think so. I think he's that big a deal. But I do think Billy Napier made a point today. I've been studying this Gator running back room because there's this stigma that Florida is all about wideouts. But when Ernest Graham was on here, I go back to Ernest Graham, Eric Rett, and Fred Taylor. Those are 3 of the greatest pillars in Gator football history, in spite of all the great wideouts. So I think Jaden Ball, if what Billy Napier is saying about this kid, strength-wise, work ethic-wise, I could be proven wrong because Jaden Ball could be their insurance policy that nobody's talking about. He's that big of a difference maker, and I'm sure they got some packages to throw to him. So,
Lance, what'd you think?
Well, as well as I do, man, if you lose quarterback, it's always tough. But if you're good up front, you always have a chance, man. And you tell that guy coming in as backup, just don't get us beat. Get it to the guys that can make plays.
Yeah.
And don't make mistakes that are going to, give the other team a short field or 7 points, man. If you can do that and you're good up front and you rely on those guys, like you said, defensively, they play well enough, you still got a chance, man.
Noah?
If it's something like three games and that's it, I think they still got a shot. I think they still do because of the running backs. I think a lot of it is also, maybe the boring answer. It all comes down to the 3 games he misses. Like, I hate to say this, but if he misses the Texas game, for example, while that would remove a lot of hype from that game, it's almost kind of a good thing because it's like, that was going to be a tough game to win anyway. But if he's missing those November games at Ole Miss and then, the Tennessee game, those are games you really want him there because those are games where he can make the difference in that game. And they're going to be must-win games down the stretch. But if it's only 3, I think they have a shot because I think that the running backs can carry them to a game or 2. I mean, let's not forget, for Kentucky last year, DJ had a great game, but also that was the game Jaden Ball scored 4 touchdowns in that game. So he can ball out, and he looked good in spring practice, and he looked and Jacoby's good. I'm high on Byron Lewis, and he was not an early enrollee, so we don't know as much about him, but the freshman, I think he's going to be good. I think that, I think I see Nat sitting here. Billy likes to run it. And I think, that'll kind of bode well. So the running backs are the key. And I think that can keep them alive, even if DJ's not healthy.
All right. No doubt. I mean, that's I mean, you look at what they have and where they're going. I think they'd be in great shape. And then last one, I'm going to get something started, but I'm going to ask, it's Ohio high school football can compete with Florida high school football. Hyper, have at it. I'll give the Ohio guy the last shot. So Noah, give it up. You cover high school a little bit.
I was just say, admittedly, I don't know much about Ohio high school football, but I do cover Florida high school football. I'm gonna say have at it just because when you got when you got those, those Midwestern boys with those winters, those are tough guys. And, Florida obviously produces really good athletes, but, Florida, the worst weather you have to deal with is right now, where it's a little hot. You don't have to deal with with those cold damn winters. So
Right.
I think I'm going to say yes. I think they can. They might not be as physically talented as the Florida kids, but man, I'm sure mentally they are probably a lot tougher than the Florida kids.
Rob?
Absolutely. Just the Catholic schools alone, having gone to a Catholic school with the LaSallian brothers and the Catholic schools in Florida, we'll put them in a competition that will be the Super Bowl of high school. I'm telling you, I really mean this. It is Florida's number 2 in the country. Ohio's number 5. They're putting out about 180 D1 players a year. Florida about 370. Florida's population, though, twice what Ohio is. So on a per capita basis, using my financial brain here, hell yeah, they can compete with anybody.
Coach?
Well, I know all about Florida high school football, and I would say overall you probably got more speed guys, but in Ohio, man, we just got some dudes that can play. And like Rob said, man, I'd take Steve Speck and St. X or Lakewood St. Ed against anybody in the country, man, because I know those guys, they got great players. I saw an article today. St. X has got 4 Power 4 linebackers. Not too many high schools in the country can say that.
Yeah.
So, and you're talking about a defense only plays 3 linebackers, so I don't know where they're putting that other.
Yeah, he's
just probably the Freddie.
Yeah.
Remember the Freddie there,
Yeah, no doubt.
Well,
Yeah, and I mean, you talk about, and then shout out to Lakewood St. Ed's. I think 2 years ago, all 5 linemen went to Big Ten schools and big boy.
Last year's O-line.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Coach, I wanted to bring you on here, obviously, too, to give you your flowers, man. I mean, like I've told you a million times, you know how I feel about you and your family, but the 7 years we spent together were 7 of the best of my entire life, definitely my coaching life, and I've been at a couple other places, but appreciate you coming on, man. Come back anytime. I brag on you all the time. So all my friends, this is the dude that I brag about, that I'm talking about when I say my friend, my coach, and a guy that just was a great guy to work for. And we had a blast, man. So definitely appreciate you coming on. Rob, who you got on the show tomorrow?
By the way, Lance Schneider, you look like young Lou Holtz. Another Ohio native, I might add.
He taller than Holtz though.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
We got Kevin Skarbinski coming on, who's got a show on our channel here, Scarbo Knows. We're going to have him on, Dudley Dawson, hogville.net. Vince Ferrara, sports animal in Knoxville, out tomorrow. He's back in Tampa. Hip replacement. He'll definitely be missing the show. He'll be getting cut on during the show, but a great one. Thank you for letting me be on here. This is great.
Yeah, Noah, what you writing? I know you're writing tonight. What we got? Tell folks where they can find you and what you writing.
We're doing Kevin's, I know, got some stuff still coming based on media availability today. I'm going to be focusing on the high school, on the boys down here in Florida. So be sure, see there, Gainesville.com/sports. You can find all our content on there.
All right, and we want to shout out Titan MRI and Imaging. Titan MRI is now Titan MRI and Imaging. Joe Calorio is back and serving not only Gainesville, but Ocala with the Park Avenue location in Ocala at the Millennium Center, and one in Lake City serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI and Imaging offers MRIs, CT scans, and X-rays and ultrasounds. Easy scheduling with lots of options, including evenings. Titan MRI is your choice. Thanks for tuning in for this edition of The Lowdown with Loren Meadows. And we will see you next week, recording live from somewhere. Thanks a lot.